we have partners that we work with that have these algorithms. We can pair them up and say, well, you can now run this algorithm and have the same or less battery life than your existing product. Now you have 10x the value in your product. Now you can go and compete and have best-in-class device. And now I'm a more avid consumer of that product because now I want to be able to go buy that. That's a killer product.
Hey, it's Eamon here with the IP Exchange. This is the second of 3 interviews we did with Ambiq at CES 2024. And this time it's with Dan, the VP of Architecture. And it's just a really interesting conversation about everything you need to know if you're designing a low power product like a wearable. Enjoy.
Hello, we're joined here by Dan, who is the VP of Architecture for Ambiq. And what we'd like to talk to him today is how, if a customer were to come to you with a typical low power proposition and they've got a problem to solve in the next 18 months, they've got lots and lots of ways that they can potentially do that. Mm-hmm. How do you approach that kind of problem? How does that work?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we have a lot of different angles to go. I would start with, what is your primary problem? What are you trying to solve? What's your application? What's your end product? How are you engaging with customers? How is low power really manifesting into your product value? So you have somebody that's coming to build a device that wants, let's say, a watch that wants to last for a month. Okay, but what are you doing? What is the user interface? What is it running applications? Try to break it down so that we understand the problem statement. We understand, obviously, the target application, and then we go from there. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox, one of which obviously is our low power silicon. Yeah. But we have fantastic software team. We have our AI team that is continuing to grow, that is building world-class low power applications running on the low power hardware. We have a systems team that is building system board designs that allow us to have high efficiency, therefore has good power efficiency. We have people who have actually worked in our team that have been on the other side. They've built end user products. They know the problem statements, and they can interpret what the customers are trying to do and say, let me help you get to where you're trying to get.
Yeah. Right? So if I was going to summarize that, because what you've actually outlined there is about 20 things.
Yeah.
The reality is you actually know the answer to that question before they've asked it. You probably know. Yeah, you probably know the 3 things that actually they should be asking themselves that they probably haven't thought about.
Yeah.
So if we just were to take, you've covered a lot of area there.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you know that before you've even walked in the room, there's probably 3 to 4 things that you're definitely going to be having a discussion about.
Yeah.
So if you had to summarize that in order, what are the primary things that customers who you need to use ultra low power, what are the 3 things that you know that they are going to have to be dealing with?
Well, the first thing, I mean, we have to start with, obviously, our products are geared towards things running off of batteries or very limited energy constrained environments. So first thing is, what are your constraints?
Yeah.
What size battery? How long are you trying to have that product last? So give me a milliamp hour type number.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, now, second question is, what are your compute requirements? Are you running just a watch? Is it just a watch face with some activity counting? Or is it, I'm running WeChat, I'm running, different applications, I'm trying to play, I don't know the latest and greatest games. I don't play a lot of games, but, a lot of...
and you're looking at the wrong person to know the answer to that question too, so...
There you go. So what is the user trying to do? Is it a fitness type of device?
Yep.
Where, I want to be able to have maps. I want to be very interactive.
Yeah.
So what am I trying to fit within that power envelope that I'm constrained to?
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, what can we do to enable you to cut that in half? You're telling me you want 14 days of battery life. Why not 30? Why not 2 months?
So you will challenge the customer to go beyond their expectations.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I thought you were going to go in another direction.
Okay.
That's interesting. I thought what the question I was going to ask you is, do you try and cut down their expectations in order to get low power.
Actually, it's the opposite.
No, that's interesting because okay.
So when we talk about low power, there's generally two ways that you can leverage our low power. You could just do the same old thing you're doing now and do it twice as long or 10 times as long, depending on what the solution is. Or you can do 10 times more work in the same power envelope. We always try to go why are you not doing 10 times more of the work?
Right.
As a consumer, I want to challenge our customers to give me that unique value proposition. Why do I need to go to my watch and interact with it to tell you I'm going for a run? Why do you not know I'm going for a run? That's a really hard problem to detect. It requires a lot of compute. We don't have the compute and battery life. Aha, we can give that to you.
Yeah.
Next question, next problem. What else is preventing you from being able to do 10x more work on your device? Well, we don't have the capabilities internally, algorithm development, whatever. Aha, we have internal experts that can help guide you there. We don't want to do it for you. We want to enable you to do it for yourselves because it's your value proposition that we're enabling. We have partners that we work with that have these algorithms. We can pair them up and say, well, you can now run this algorithm and have the same or less battery life than your existing product. Now you have 10x the value in your product. Now you can go and compete and have best-in-class device. And now I'm a more avid consumer of that product because now I want to be able to go buy that. That's a killer product. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we want to challenge our customers to be able to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Because we are also customers. We want to see that in the industry, right? I want to have a watch that does all this. I want to have an on-wrist, assistant, coach, doctor, all of those things. I don't need a step counter. I know how many steps. I don't really care how many steps I took. My niece tell me how many steps I took, but I want to be able to just have it augment my life. How do I get this device to augment my life in better ways and it last for months on end?
Right. So in terms of the interaction with your component and the power, there's a software component in there.
Mm-hmm.
I again thought you were going to go in a different direction. So to get all of that, is there your experience and knowledge of all wearables? You'll bring a whole host of experience, aren't you? Where their expectations are possible. So how do you share other customers' intellectual property and experience in order to drive that process?
So the first thing I'll say is that I continue to learn. I mean, we talk to our customers and I continue to be amazed at what they're actually doing, the technology innovation. So I'm still a sponge, right? I'm bringing it in. And especially with, AI and the capabilities that we're starting to enable them to do on device, running these complex workloads, the innovation is just starting to flood in. I mean, these engineers are just waiting for, just give me the room to innovate.
Yeah.
So we're giving them that room and now they're starting to innovate. So we're starting to see a lot of newer use cases coming in, which therefore has different problem statements along with it.
Yeah.
And it's good for us. It feeds it forward to our next gen products. We say, we're going to get you over that next hurdle or hurdles. Talk to me about what else you want to do. Don't talk about what you're trying to do now. Tell me what you want to do 5 years from now. I want to enable you to do that tomorrow. Right. And so we don't, we absorb all of this information. We have a lot of people, as I said, we have people that work at the company that have been on that side. They know the problems. They know what they're running up against. We use that as kind of our throttling and our fuel to be able to go ahead of our customers and try to go, down the road so that when they get there, they're not going to be blocked by, problem X or problem Y. So we don't take information and, kind of use it on customer X. And then I go to customer Y and say, well, I know how to solve your problem because I know how customer X did it. Obviously we don't do that, but we take it in and we try to sort of assimilate all of that and figure out generally how do we address general processing problem statements. We know AI is a big thing. That imposes certain restrictions on software, on hardware. We want to go out ahead of that. That's why we have people who are working on AI are going way out ahead, and they're trying to pioneer and make sure that when our customers get there, they're not going to run into these problems. And so we try to really solicit information from them on what they're trying to do, what they think they want to do out in the future. we try to talk to what ends up being our customer's customer, the ones that are building services and things on top of these devices,
Yeah.
to understand what they want devices to have capabilities to do so that when our customers build those products, they get exactly what they want.
Yeah. So, just briefly, just to finish off, what you described there is a whole system. So you talked about the battery management. You talked about how long that lasts. So, but then you just quickly just mentioned, for want of a better phrase, the whole app world. Is that what you were describing there? How apps are using power and their complexity and how they sit on the device. So you have to be.
Yeah, and it's the applications. It's really the whole infrastructure, right? You have applications that are running that are going back into the cloud. They have
Yeah.
fitness and data crunching that's going on so that they can provide information back to the user, or they can provide information back to the vendor so that they can know how to better engage the customer and provide better value. So we have customers that do a lot of fitness applications. They have a lot of health apps that all, you have sleep information,
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
daily activity information. They're assimilating all of this information in the background. And we want to make sure that those services that are going on, we have the right, building blocks in place to enable those so that they can happen across months of, battery life. Somebody doesn't have to take their watch off and charge it every night. We want them to wear it all through the night.
Yeah.
We want them to wear them through the day. It's just a piece of, it's an extension of clothing. It's just, you just have it on, right?
Yeah.
You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
We want to be able to get to a point where you do that perhaps with an earbud. You're wearing it it's just all the time, and you have constant hearing assist and augmentation. And that requires very low power. It requires understanding the application and the integration with our silicon and our software to enable that.
Okay.
So we're trying to go out ahead and make sure that we.
So I just got one further other question for you, because it's quite interesting the things that you've covered there, because essentially with all of that we've talked about technology.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about architecture, you talk about software. Would think that from everything that you've been talking about, a real value add that Ambiq can offer is time to market too, because you're going to be saving them. They have these ideas. They know they don't want to be using a lot of battery life.
Mm-hmm.
They only have so much time to bring things to market. So would it be true to say that you have a very strong value proposition in terms of all that experience and knowledge, so you can speed up their process too?
Yeah, that's definitely the case, and very true. And we see that both from a positive as well as a challenge and an opportunity. So the positive is we do allow them to get to market quicker. We're trying to pave the way so that it is easier from an integration. And it comes down to simple things, just the software that we give them, make it easy to use. We're solving the real hard problems so that they don't have to think about a lot of the power management, how we deal with all of the low power stuff.
Yeah.
Just make it seamless to use so they can port the things that they already have over easily. But we give them as much time to really do the innovation, to take advantage of that headroom that we've given them. That takes time. And it's not something that a lot of customers necessarily have the luxury to be able to do.
Yeah.
They're under pressure. They got to get the products out.
Yeah.
So we try to help enable them and catapult them with our own internal software. So we give it as a reference. Here, just use this as a baseline. We've done all of the hard work in terms of how it interacts with our low power technology. Now build your secret sauce on top of that and go. And the other one is trying to get out ahead and work with them on kind of next products, so that we can, by the time they actually get to the product, they've already have this collateral available and they can just unload it and go.
Yeah.
And
I think the reason why I asked that question was because, everybody has their own products, their own ideas. They know that they're going to have power restraints. They know that. But what you're actually describing is a whole suite of solutions that don't necessarily just revolve around how effective you are with the power. You're saying there's a lot of other stuff that you can offer, as well as, I've got a very low power chip. You're describing a lot of other, if you like, backroom services, backroom support that they wouldn't naturally assume that you could offer.
That's true. I mean, a lot of what we do and try to focus on has to do with really showcasing and leveraging our power efficiency. But There's also ease of use. There's easing the overall software development. So it's not just about doing low power, but at the end of the day, it actually does come back to being more power efficient. If we can help guide customers to develop software in a certain way so that the result is actually more efficient, that's a win-win, because now we don't have to come back and, oh, the power's higher than I thought, and we have to look to see, well, what are they doing? Don't do this, don't do that. Just make sure we give them the guidance so that when they build it, it's right by construction, hopefully. But there is a lot of, there's performance. We don't talk, as earlier I haven't talked about performance. Those two go hand in hand a lot, because we have to be able to enable certain levels of performance without compromising the power efficiency. So it's about maximizing performance and, minimizing code inefficiencies, or giving them hardware blocks that offload a lot of code, so you don't have to write the code for it. You just enable this piece of hardware and it goes. In the background, that hardware is working to give you a 10x power efficiency benefit, but it's also a performance enhancement. So it's about building the software around making sure that that is a seamlessly integratable thing.
I was going to say, it's all about integration, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it everything? I mean, you and your team must spend a lot of your time just understanding the whole integration of the software, how it affects the power, how the whole system works, and then how you move that forward for future product development.
Right. Yeah, our team generally, I mean, we call, most of my team is called system architects, and it's for a reason, right? We're not chip architects, it's system architects. And actually several of them are more software than hardware. And it's largely because we have, the hardware maybe is the easy part. The hard part is the software. And some of my colleagues are going to chuckle because I always say it the opposite. It's software is easy, hardware is hard. But it's about the partitioning between those two domains and what makes the most sense. Yeah. Right? In some cases, it makes more sense to just run it all in software. And if we give them a really low power processing environment, then that's perfectly fine. In some cases, having dedicated hardware to do it is the right thing to do. So it's about that balance and constantly making sure that we've put all the pieces together to enable our customers to do what they need to do. So it is a balancing act in a lot of cases.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much for that introduction. It sounds to me like you don't just sell low power chips. You sell a lot of value added architecture, value added experience, value added insight as to how they build products, not just for now for low power, but how they make sure they can be building in the future and getting them to market as quickly as they possibly can.
That's right. Well said.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I enjoyed listening to it and writing up the commentary that accompanies these videos. The thing that blew my mind the most was that Ambiq asks its customers what they envision for wearable products in 5 years' time. So that's just a genius move to ensure that Ambiq are always ahead of the curve when it comes to development for consumer expectation, which is half of the battle when it comes to these products. We always like to talk about evaluation boards here on IP Exchange, so I've shown this a few times before. It's the Ambiq Apollo 4 display kit, obviously very geared towards wearables. If you want to get in touch with Ambiq to have them as a partner in your low power journey, and my God, they have such expertise in this subject, fill out the form on the IP Exchange website, get yourself playing with one of these display kits, and as always, keep designing.